Well, happy Monday morning, y'all. I've got NBA information for you here. We're going to run through the L10s, give you the best plays at each level. Let's get started. Starting with your micro caps at a 2, I have Garrett Temple. I think he's kind of interesting just because his L10's so low. This guy doesn't play much at all, but the last couple of games, 18 minutes, then 11. Toronto just has almost everybody out. You can see their whole lineup is out here. Most of their starters. Going to get a lot of guys on Toronto that are getting extra minutes, and he just happens to be one of them. 0.89 a minute, not bad. This guy's just a veteran reserve. I don't know if he continues to get minutes, but it's worth a flyer here. I think top end, we're looking at almost 20, and at a 2, that's certainly in play. We got Kira Lewis with the Jazz getting some minutes with Chris Dunn out, so those backup point guard minutes. Utah's just throwing everything they have at the wall to see what they have right now, which is interesting, and this is kind of how the end of the season usually goes for these teams that are out of it. Chris Dunn was getting in the 20s for minutes. The last game, Kira Lewis got 25. RotoWire has him projected at 15, and that would put his top end somewhere in that 20 range as well. I think at a 3, you can certainly look at him. One game for Miami this week. Haywood Highsmith has moved all the way down to a 6 for an L10. His last game was actually pretty good. Played 25 minutes. The last couple, he's been getting some time. They're pretty banged up as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he had a decent game this week, but again, it's only one shot at it. I'm giving him about 17 minutes, but he's been getting a few more than that lately. Say his top end, if he can get in that 22, 23 range, his top end's kind of mid to upper 20s, and at a 6, that's at least worth a look, but again, only the one game. Golden State has 2 this week, and Gary Payton's been getting a few more minutes, 24 last game, so he moved ahead of Chris Paul and Brandon Pajemski in a close game against the Wolves, so maybe this is a sign of things changing a little bit. We'll see what he gets this week. I've got him at his L3 average, which is 14. 8 L10 for him puts him just over 20, so not real interesting, but somebody you might want to consider. Well, we'll see if Jalen Duren comes back tonight. He missed last game. Detroit's kind of just sitting a lot of guys right now. Chimezie Metu started for him yesterday, ended up playing 39 minutes. If he can get like 26 minutes, I think you're looking at a guy that can get you over 30. 2 games this week. Just have to watch that Duren news. They do play tonight, so you may hear something during the day. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if they just sit Cade, they sit Duren, they sit Fontecchio, play their young guys. That's what they should be doing. In Oklahoma City, you're seeing a few more minutes for Kenrich Williams. Lou Dort left with an injury last game. He's a game-time decision heading into this week. Kenrich Williams getting 23 and 19 the last couple of games. This guy can play a little bit. I'm always surprised he doesn't get more time. 0.89 a minute, pretty good. If he can get 20 minutes for you, I think he can get you close to 30 points. 2 games for OKC. He's been playing a little bit more than Hayward, a little bit more than Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe, so he's one of the first guys off the bench right now. I would be taking a look at him at a 9. With Şengün down and now Jabari Smith out, it's opening up some playing time for some of the backups in Houston. You've seen Jock Landale's minutes go way up. Aaron Holiday's minutes are coming up as well. Jeff Green's playing more. Let me talk about Holiday here, though. He's a 10 L10. I've got him for 18 minutes. He's averaged about 20 the last couple of games. RotoWire's got him at 18. With 18 minutes, I think he can get you in the mid-20s. 2 games for Houston, so a couple cracks at that one. So I know Spencer Dinwiddie's been really hot garbage since he came to the Lakers, but he actually did bump his points per minute up from about 0.5 to 0.57 with one good game last night. Scored 26, played 35 minutes. So I'm going off last game because this was the first game that D'Angelo Russell was out. Competitive game, and this is the lineup they used. They went about 7 deep. Dinwiddie started, played 35. Maybe that's what he needed to get going. This guy's better than this. 11 L10. He's obviously capable. I think he can get you higher than this 28.89 that's projected. So if he can get anywhere close to the level he was playing at in Brooklyn, you're looking at a guy that can get you 40, 45 pretty easily. And on an 11, he'd definitely be a guy I'd be considering this week. 2 games for the Lakers. If you're sick of getting screwed by Dinwiddie and want to go a different direction at an 11, you have Poku. He's been getting about 20 minutes. I've got him at 23 tonight. Charlotte's been going about 8 deep recently, and Poku's in that rotation. I think with 23 minutes, he can get you somewhere in that 30 range as well. 2 games for Charlotte this week. With Jabari Smith ruled out, I think Jeff Green moves into the starting lineup. He's certainly capable of playing minutes in the 30s from time to time. I'm going to estimate him at about 26. That's where RotoWire has him. At 26 minutes, I think he can get you over 30 for Sorare points. And at a 12, that's definitely in play this week. You're going to hear me talk a lot about the Washington Wizards because they have a lot of their key guys out. Kyle Kuzma, Tyus Jones, both out. Shamet out. Justin Champagne has jumped into the rotation, getting about 20 minutes a night. I think with 20 minutes, he can get you almost 30. And at a 12, you can certainly consider him. Staying in Washington, Patrick Baldwin has moved into the the starting lineup. He's been getting in the high 20s for minutes. I'm going to estimate him where RotoWire puts him at 27. If you can get 27 minutes at 0.94 a minute, you're looking at a guy in the mid-30s here. So 2 games for Washington this week, assuming Kuzma stays out, and I don't see why they'd bring him back. They're not playing for anything at this point. So get Baldwin in there, I think, with some confidence. Ochai Agbaji, I'm not a big fan of. 0.65 points a minute, really unproductive, but he is starting. He's getting 32 minutes. Another situation here where all the good players on the team are out. With 32 minutes, he's good enough to get you 30 Sorare points. 2 games for Toronto this week, so we'll see what happens with him. So Mo Bamba was in the news a little bit. I guess Pat Beverly ripped him. Bamba didn't like that very much, and he's actually played better the last couple of games, so maybe it was a motivating factor. He played 32 and then 22 minutes. A few more minutes, but he's been starting. I think we give him somewhere in that 22 to 24 range. That can get you close to 30. He actually had a pretty decent game a couple games back, but 2 games for Philly. I'll spare you the dick jokes this time, but Grady has been getting more minutes, and with those minutes, increased production. One of the worst players points per minute wise early in the year since February 1st, 0.73 a minute. Still not good, but better, and with 33 minutes, much like Ochai Agbaji, he's at least worth a look. I think he can get you mid-30s. 2 games for Toronto. Back to the Wizards. When Marvin Bagley returned, we kind of expected Richaun Holmes to go back to the bench. That's not exactly what happened. Bagley came in and played about 20 off the bench. Richaun Holmes still started. Kuzma had been playing the center position a little bit. With Kuzma out, they're going to need Holmes and Bagley. Could see this flip-flop minutes-wise, but for right now, I think Holmes is your starter. If he can continue to get 28 minutes, I think he can get you high 30s points. 2 games for the Wizards, and he's going to have some opportunity to rim run here. Bruno Fernando had a career game last game, which is awesome to see. Okongwu unfortunately came back, but now he's out again. We thought with Capella back and Okongwu, Bruno Fernando would pretty much be back to nothing, which he was. He had 9 and 4 minutes, but now Okongwu out again. Bruno's going to be back in that backup center rotation. Jalen Johnson, another of their big men, also out, so I think he's definitely going to get some run this week. Probably get you in the low 20s minutes, which means he can get you in the 30s for points, or if he has another career game in the 40s, I guess. 3 games for Atlanta this week, so lots of chances for Bruno Fernando to have a decent outing for you. I think you can play him at 18. Not going to spend a lot of time on Bruce Brown. He's at 19. Toronto's banged up, like we said before. I think he can get you low 30s, and at 19, that's at least in play. 2 games for Toronto. We touched on Jock Lando a little bit earlier. His minutes are kind of up and down. He has some games where he's in the high 20s, other just high teens. So we kind of put him somewhere in the middle there. We're going to give him 25. At 25 minutes, I think he can get you almost 40 points. He's a 1.1 point per minute guy, so pretty productive. And 2 games for Houston. Jabari Smith ruled out already, so they're going to need him. I think him and Jeff Green are going to be the bigs for them right now, which is interesting. They're going to have to run a pretty small lineup. With Kevin Huerter's injury in Sacramento, Keon Ellis has moved into the starting lineup. He was playing before Huerter got hurt, but now he's been playing a little bit more. Minutes are continually on the rise. This guy's a good defensive player. It's going to keep him on the floor. 31 minutes is what RotoWire projects for him. That's what we're going with. That would give him over 40 for a top-end estimate of his normal range. 2 games for the Kings. He's one of your better plays this week. This has been kind of entertaining. We used Miles McBride last week. He had played 44 and 47 minutes coming into that week. I estimated him at 34, thinking no way he gets that many again. And then he played, I think, pretty much the whole game the last time out. RotoWire has him projected at 44 minutes tonight. That's the most I've ever seen. It doesn't even fit on the page. If he can get that many minutes, which would not be surprised, he's done it 3 games in a row. At that 22 L10, you're looking at a high 40s player sometimes. 2 games for the Knicks. I don't see a whole lot changing here, so I would expect him to continue to get a lot of playing time. 47, 44, 48. You might even get more than that. One of your best plays of the week, 24.53 difference between that high-end estimate of the normal range and the L10, and the floor is almost at the L10, so this is an obvious one. Back to Washington, we're going with Corey Kispert. Corey Kispert usually gets about 28 minutes. Recently, he's been more like 35. That's where we're putting him. Gets him into the mid-40s for an estimate. 2 games for Washington. And yeah, with all these key guys out, I think he gets a lot more offensive production. I think you can expect Avdija, Kispert, maybe even some of these lesser guys to have big games. Jrue Holiday remains out for Boston, which means Peyton Pritchard should remain in the starting lineup. When he's in the starting lineup, you're looking at 30s in minutes. Sometimes high 30s. He's been producing too. He's been very good. 0.91 a minute. Excellent production for a backup player. 33 minutes, 23 L10. I think he can get you in the mid-40s pretty easily. 2 games for Boston this week. DeAndre Hunter in Atlanta, he's overplaying his season average for minutes, so he's getting about 32 right now. I've got him at 33. I think there's a good chance he plays even more. 40 for a top end and 3 games for Atlanta, so multiple opportunities to come up with a big one for you. Trace Jackson Davis in Golden State. Minutes definitely on the rise. He went from 21, and then 26, then 28. Got him at about 27, up to a 27 L10, so this isn't as lucrative a play as it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, but top end still in the 40s. This is still a guy you need to consider. 2 games for the Warriors. One of my favorite plays for this game week is CJ McCollum. L10 stayed at 28 despite a couple good games. 48.78, so almost 50 for a top end estimate. 2 games for New Orleans. Brandon Ingram is out, so McCollum's taking on more of the scoring load with Zion Williamson. I think he gets in the mid-30s for minutes, and he can certainly hit for a big number. With the injury to Jabari Smith in Houston and with Şengün out, Amen Thompson's been getting some more minutes. This guy can play. I'm telling you, these rookies don't put up 1.12 points a minute very often. This guy's good. This was what he's done since February 1st. About 30 minutes. I think that's a safe estimate for him. Maybe even more. With that many minutes at a 29 L10, I think you're looking at a guy who can get you from 45 to 50, somewhere in there, and 2 games for Houston. Go ahead and get him in if you've got one. He's going to be pretty expensive to pick up. Jordan Poole is a game time decision tonight. If he doesn't go, obviously the other guys get even more of a bump. If he does go, I think he's going to get mid-30s minutes because they need him. 30 L10 can get you 50. I mean, especially if he's just jacking up shots. 2 games for Washington, so you get a couple cracks at it. Even if he sits tonight, maybe he comes back for the next game. But again, Washington's in a position where they're not playing for anything. Maybe they start just sitting starters and playing backups. Not a lot to tell you here with the blue chips that you probably don't already know. Denny Avdija, obviously with Washington all banged up, is going to get a lot of minutes tonight. I think he can get you 50, and he's 31, so with 2 games, definitely get him in if you've got one. Stephen Curry is all the way down to a 34. Even with the minutes coming down a little bit, he's still capable of high 50s, obviously, and 2 games for the Warriors. Tyrese Halliburton's looked a little better lately. 37 L10, so still pretty low for him. I think he can get you high 50s, 2 games for Indiana. Really don't have much to report on until we get up to, some of these plays are good. Like Brunson looks pretty good. Jalen Green, sure. Houston beat up. I like him. Kyrie's been playing really well. And you get up to like De'Aaron Fox, and I didn't realize De'Aaron Fox was playing this well. Him and Anthony Edwards are very close, so rare-wise, since February 1st. Same minutes, about the same points per minute, which is crazy because it seems like Edwards gets all the headlines and Fox you don't really hear much about. But Fox is certainly capable of getting you 60, just like Edwards, and 2 games for the Kings instead of 1. Jason Tatum, like him a little better than Edwards just because of the extra game. Similar projection. Giannis, 51. That's real low for him, so it's high 60s. Definitely get a Giannis in if you have one. Anthony Davis is a great play this week at 52, 75.7 for a projection, and that's because with Russell out, I was just looking at last game's minutes, so if they have a competitive game, I think he can certainly play 40. He did it last night, and if he does, he's certainly capable of huge games. Yeah, I mean, obviously Jokic at 56 is very playable. Luka at 61 is very playable, so it's going to be hard to win those champions if you don't have one of those guys. Davis could win it for you this week, though, so if you want to spend a little less, maybe try it with him. All right, thanks for watching. We will see you back here soon.